එදිනෙදා ඔබේ මුළු සිරුරටම රැකවරණයක්. සුදේශී කොඹ සබන්.
ලෙන්ගතුකම වැඩි කරගන්න ලව්ජු රුපියල් 50 අඩු කළා.
මාමේ එන්න අපිට එකක් බොමු.
Tonight, independence questioned. Election Commission in hot water as Professor Hool takes aim at SLPP.
How can the public have confidence in a commission whose members are exhorting people to vote for one party, not to vote for another party?
Helping hand. Lebanon agrees to conduct free PCR tests for Sri Lankans seeking to be repatriated. Getting to the bottom. Easter attacks. PCOI hears of more contradictions by police over Easter attacks. Caution. Warnings of a second COVID-19 wave if health protocols are discarded. All that and much more coming up on First at 9. This Saturday, the 6th of June, 2020.
Nava Sunlight Sakura. Then Dikukal Pavatina Sakura Mal Suandin.
From AdaDerana, this is AdaDerana First at 9. Live from Studio 24 in Colombo.
Good evening and welcome to First at 9. I'm Mohammed Ketman. We'll start with your local stories. Now, Director of the Medical Research Institute, Dr. Jayaruwan Bandara, says that despite Sri Lanka displaying a strong and positive handle on the COVID-19 pandemic, as no community-based transmissions have been reported for over a month, the risk of a second wave still lingers. Accordingly, he urged the public to continue to follow social distancing practices while maintaining public hygiene and always wear a face mask in public. As a new normalcy begins to settle in, no community transmissions have been reported since the 30th of April, an indication that the people of the country have abided by health and safety protocols. However, the number of active cases reported from the country continue to rise, solely due to recent Sri Lankan returnees from overseas and naval personnel from the Navy cluster testing positive for COVID-19. Accordingly, out of the 4 patients discovered yesterday, 2 are identified to be returnees from Bangladesh, undergoing quarantine at the Rantambe Quarantine Centre, while the remaining 2 are naval personnel who are already under quarantine. Since the first Navy sailor tested positive for the virus on the 22nd of April, a total of 851 naval personnel have been diagnosed with the coronavirus so far. Meanwhile, from that figure, the number of recoveries rose to 453 today, with 10 naval personnel being given the all-clear to go home. Currently, the overall number of active COVID-19 cases reported in Sri Lanka stand at 908, as 9 more persons tested positive for the virus today. The overall number of coronavirus recoveries is currently at 891.
ලෝකේ තාමත් දිනකට ලක්ෂ ගණනින් රෝගීන් වාර්තා වෙද්දී ලංකාව ඉතාමත් හොඳින් මේ රෝගේ කළමනාකරණය කරගෙන යනවා. අපේ රටේ සමාජගත රෝගීන් ප්‍රමාණය පහුගිය දවස් 31කටම වාර්තා වුණේ නැහැ. නමුත් රෝගී ලක්ෂණ නැති නමුත් රෝග විස බීජය තියෙන සමහර උදවිය සමාජයේදී මුණ ගැහෙන්න පුළුවන්. එහෙම වුණොත් සමාජගත රෝගීන් නැවත හමු වීමේ හැකියාවක් තියෙනවා. එය දෙවන රැල්ලක් විය හැකි. එම නිසා සමාජ දුරස්ථභාවය පවත්වාගෙන යාම, පෞද්ගලික පිරිසිදුකම, මුඛ ආවරණයක් පැළඳීම මේ ක්‍රියා කිසි විටකත් ඔබට නවත්තන්න බෑ.
In the meantime, police apprehended 6 persons yesterday who had aided in bringing a man and his daughter from a refugee camp in India by boat to Sri Lanka illegally amid the prevailing COVID-19 risk. The man in question had fled to India during the conflict and had returned to his earlier residence in the area of Pandivirichan in Mana, accompanied by his daughter, from a refugee camp in India. Police said that the person in question had entered the country via Talaimana by boat in violation of quarantine regulations in face of COVID-19 risks in India. The man in question and his daughter are currently undergoing quarantine at the Punani facility. In other developments, 235 Sri Lankans were brought back to the country from Germany today. They include a group of Sri Lankan merchant sailors who had served on board foreign vessels. The passengers and the flight crew underwent PCR testing after landing at the Mattala Rajapaksa International Airport in Hambantota. The returnees were then directed to the quarantine centre in Galle. Meanwhile, 247 returnees from the United Kingdom, Russia, Korea, Malaysia, Abu Dhabi and Dubai successfully completed their quarantine process at the Ayurveda General Hospital in Rajagiriya, Diyagama Quarantine Centre and Galkanda Quarantine Centre today.
කොරෝනා වෛරසය පැතිරීම වළක්වන්න සබන් යොදා දෑත් සෝදන්න.
Now, the government of Lebanon has agreed to conduct free PCR tests for Sri Lankans seeking to be repatriated. A statement released by the Minister of Foreign Relations said that the Sri Lankan ambassador had discussed with the Lebanese Minister of Labour at the ministry premises recently. Among the matters discussed were the COVID-19 outbreak and the Sri Lankan migrant workers, the economic crisis in Lebanon, the non-availability of work for undocumented workers, unpaid salaries and health issues of migrant workers. They further discussed the temporary measures taken by the embassy to cushion the shock faced by the workers by distributing food rations to the neediest spread across Lebanon. The ambassador requested assistance from Lebanon to conduct the PCR tests on a free of charge basis, enabling the embassy to prepare for the returnees to leave. After initially deciding to conduct the PCR tests for the Sri Lankan migrant workers for a nominal fee of $20 instead of $100 per person, Lebanon later waived that fee as requested by the Sri Lankan side. The transportation is to resume as usual from Monday. Now, but there lingers some issues pertaining to capacity allowed in buses and trains, with private bus owners especially unhappy with not being able to facilitate standing passengers in buses. In a separate development from today, the curfew will come into effect at 11 p.m. until 4 a.m. on a daily basis. As per the latest communique issued by the President's Media Division, the curfew will remain in force from 11 p.m. to 4 a.m. until further notice, effective from today. The government has also decided to operate public transport services as usual from Monday in accordance with safety protocols issued by the authorities. Accordingly, wearing face masks is mandatory when using public transport, while it is a must to establish facilities in bus stands and railway stations for commuters to clean their hands. Furthermore, steps have been taken to operate the railway services as usual from Monday.
සියලුම කාර්යාල දුම්රියන් සාමාන්‍ය පරිදි ධාවනය කිරීම සඳහා අවශ්‍ය කටයුතු මේ වන විට සැලසුම් කර ඇති අතර අනිකුත් දුම්රියන් වලින් නගරාන්තර ශීඝ්‍රගාමී දුම්රියන් වන කොළඹ බදුල්ල කොළඹ දෙනුවර මැණිකේ දුම්රියත් ගල්කිස්ස කංකසන්තුරේ ගල්කිස්ස බලා ධාවනය වන නගරාන්තර වායු සමනය කරන දුම්රියත් එලෙසම සඳුදා දින උදේ පොළොන්නරුවේ සිට කොළඹ බලා ධාවනය වන පුලසිත දුම්රියත් ධාවනය කරන නොකරන අතර අනිකුත් සියලුම දුම්රියන් ධාවනය කිරීම සඳහා අවශ්‍ය පියවරගෙන තිබෙනවා. ටෝකන් පත් නිකුත් කිරීම සඳහා දින සිට අවලංගු වෙනවා.
Although buses of private and public sector are deployed to the maximum, there still persists an issue pertaining to sufficient availability and capacity. As things stand, the maximum capacity of buses match the number of seats available.
මගේ ජනතාව හිටගෙන ගෙනියන්න හැකියාවක් නැහැ. සීට් ගණනට තමයි ගෙනියන්නට හැකියාව තියෙන්නේ. ඒ තත්ත්වයෙන් මිදෙන්නට මේ වන විට ලංගම විසින් පාසල් බස් රථ විදේශිකයන් ප්‍රවාහනය සඳහා ගෙනව බස් වල තියෙනවා හෝටල් ආශ්‍රිතව තවත් බස් රථ විශාල ප්‍රමාණයක් තියෙනවා ලියාපදිංචි නොකරපු බස් රථ පොරොත්තු ලේඛනයේ තිබෙන බස් රථ තියෙනවා ඒ සියලුම බස් රථ ශ්‍රී ලංකා ගමනාගමන මණ්ඩලයේ යටතේ ලියාපදිංචි කරගෙන ඒ අවශ්‍ය ස්ථාන වලට ස්ථානගත කරන්නට වැඩපිළිවෙලක් මේ විට ක්‍රියාත්මක කරලා තියෙනවා.
However, the Lanka Private Bus Owners Association stated that it is difficult to only deploy buses if transportation of passengers is limited to the number of seats.
ආසන සංඛ්‍යාවට මගින්න ගෙනියනවයි කියන එකත් අපිට ගැටලුවක් වෙනවා. මොකද උදේ සහ හවස වරුවේ පමණයි මගින් ඉන්නේ. දැනටමත් පහුගිය දින කිහිපය තුලම බස් රථ පළාත ධාවනය වුණේ බස් රථ 35 40ත් අතර ප්‍රමාණයක්. එතකොට අපිට 100%ක්ම විශ්වාස කරන්න බෑ සදුදා දිනේදී මේ බස් රථ ප්‍රමාණය අපිට සම්පූර්ණ බලය නියම බස් රථ ධාවනය කරන්න හැකියාව තියෙනවා කියලා. ඉතින් ඒ නිසා ප්‍රායෝගික ගැටලු ගණනාවක් අපිට ඇවිල්ලා තියෙනවා.
මේ ක්‍රමවේදය කොරෝනා වසංගතයේ නිමාවනතුරු පවත්වාගෙන යන්නට නම් අපි සූදානම්. හැබැයි අපිට බස් ගාස්තු සංශෝධනයක් වහාම අවශ්‍ය වෙනවා. ඒ වගේම විද්‍යානුකූල ඒකාබද්ධ කාලසටහනක් වහාම අවශ්‍ය වෙනවා.
Minister of Passenger Transport Management Mahinda Amaravira meanwhile had this to say on the matter.
අපිට ප්‍රායෝගික ප්‍රශ්නයක් තියෙනවා. දුම්රිය සාමාන්‍යයෙන් මගීන් ලක්ෂ 45000ක් විතර දවසකට ගමනාගමනය කරනවා. අපේ දුම්රිය ආසන තියෙන්නේ 25000ක් විතර. නමුත් අපිට ආසන මදි කියලා නැගිටලා යන්න දෙන්න පුළුවන් කමක් නැහැ. සෞඛ්‍යාංශ අපිට ඒකට අවසරයක් ලබා දීලා නැහැ. ඒ අතිරේක මගීන් කැඳවා රැගෙන යාම සඳහා වෙනම බස් රථ සේවයක් අපි ලබා දෙනවා. පෞද්ගලික බස් කර්මාන්තයට ගැටලුවක් ඇති නොවන ආකාරයට. අතිරේකව අවශ්‍ය වුණොත් විතරයි අනිකුත් බස් රථ යොදවන්නේ.
We will see you shortly after this break. Stay tuned. Welcome back. You're watching First at 9. Now, the Presidential Commission probing the Easter Sunday attacks of last year heard more evidence today which contradicts statements made by police officers. It heard that this testimony given by SSP of Mount Lavinia, Mudita Pussala, before the Commission, saying that there was a meeting on the security of St. Mary's Church in Dehiwala prior to the attacks is completely false. The statement was given by the parish priest of St. Mary's Church. Parish priest of St. Mary's Church in Dehiwala, Father Daya Valikadarachi, gave evidence before the Presidential Commission probing the Easter Sunday attacks today. He told the Commission that he requested from the officer in charge of Dehiwala Police in writing to provide security to the church from the 14th to the Easter Sunday. He added that his request was based on several matters, including the safety of the devotees' vehicles, possible traffic jams, and previous incidents of theft at the church. The Commission asked the father whether a police checkpoint was set up at the church premises. In response, Father Valikadarachi said that such a police checkpoint was not set up at the church premises and that police officers who came to the church for its security frequented a room in the building where the church Sunday school was conducted. He added that he came to know of the incident through the visuals shown by church council, and afterwards devotees were admitted to the church for the service at 10:15 a.m. following a thorough search. He went on to say that gates and doors of the church were then closed and the service was rushed through. The Commission asked the witness whether there was a discussion about an attack with the area's top brass of the police and the church council prior to the attacks. The father said that there wasn't one, and however added that he saw in a national newspaper that then SSP of Mount Lavinia, Mudit Pussella, had told the Commission that such a discussion did take place. He then said that the SSP's admission is completely false. Father Valikadarachi went on to say that the statement of SSP Pussella has given rise to a suspicion among the local people that the father may have known of the attacks in advance and that it has put him in a difficult position. The Commission then asked the witness whether the evidence given by SSP Pussella before the Commission is incorrect. While saying that SSP Pussella's statement is incorrect, the witness said that the discussion SSP Pussella had alluded to, in fact, took place in December 2019. The father noted that during the said discussion, a member of the church council asked SSP Pussella whether there would be an attack on Christmas Day similar to that of the Easter Sunday. Furthermore, parish priest of St. Mary's Church in Dehiwala, Father Daya Valikadarachi, told the Commission that he would have informed the Cardinal and taken measures to cancel all masses had he received any information pertaining to an impending attack.
ඉතින් අපිට සාධාරණ සැකයක් මතුවෙනවා මේ දිනවල පොලිස් නිලධාරීන් තමන්ගේ වගකීම පැහැර හැරීම නිසා මේ බෝම්බ ප්‍රහාරය සිදු වෙලා තියෙනවායි කියන දේ අපිට හැඟී යනවා. ඉතින් ඒ නිසා ඔවුන්ගේ එම වැරද්ද අනිත් අයට පටවන්නට උත්සාහ කිරීමක් මේ දිනවල සිදු වෙනවද කියලා අපි සැකයක් මතුවලා තියෙනවා. ඒ වගේම අපිට සාධාරණ සැකයක් මතුවෙනවා මේ ප්‍රහාරය සඳහා පරීක්ෂණ කරන මේ ජනාධිපති කොමිසම අපහසුතාවයට පත් කරන්නට එහෙම නැත්නම් ඔවුන්ව නොමග යවන්නට වැරදි සාක්ෂි දෙනවදෝ කියන සැකයක් අපිට මතුවෙනවා. ඉතින් ඒක නිසා අපි බොහොම වගකීමෙන් යුතුව කියනවා අපි කතෝලික සභාවක් විදියට කතෝලික ජනතාවක් විදියට මේ පරීක්ෂණ කටයුතු පිළිබඳව දැන් කිරීගෙන යන පරීක්ෂණ කටයුතු වලට සැහැීමකට පත් වෙනවා වගේම ඒ පිළිබඳව ඉතා සූක්ෂමව බලාගෙන ඉන්නවා අපිට සාධාරණීය ඉටු වෙනතුරු.
Now, Election Commission member Professor Ratnajeevan Hool has made some remarks which looks to be exhorting voters to refrain from voting for Sri Lanka Podujana Peramuna. After this came to light, SLPP Chairman Professor G.L. Peiris questioned the independent status of the Commission, saying that the body has lost the confidence of the people. Member of the Election Commission Professor Ratnajeevan Hool recently gave an interview to a Tamil media outlet in the north. During it, Professor Hool took aim at the conduct of the country's media institutions. Those who spread falsehoods think that if we are threatened with expulsion from the Commission, that we would not act against their actions. According to the 19th Amendment to the Constitution, lies cannot be propagated. Even if 2 or 3 of them do so, I cannot read the garbage written in Sinhalese. Media institutions which support the SLPP are at the forefront of this. They are also against democracy. Don't vote for them. Why do you vote for those who attempt to stop you from voting? Who are these liars supporting? Don't vote for them. Meanwhile, chairman of the SLPP, Professor G.L. Piris, had this to say about the comments of Election Commission member Professor Hool.
Is exhorting people not to vote for the Sri Lanka Podujana Peramuna and to regret their action later. The whole purpose of the commission is to achieve independence. The National Elections Commission is a product of the 17th Amendment, which was introduced into our constitution to ensure that elections are held in an atmosphere of total confidence, impartiality, objectivity. What is very sad is the difference between the aspiration and the reality. How can the public have confidence in a commission whose members are exhorting people to vote for one party, not to vote for another party? Where is the independence? We never had a situation like this in this country. Before the commission was established, there were elections in this country. There was a commissioner, but we never had preposterous behavior of this kind. We do not have an ounce of confidence in Mr. Hool. It is not enough simply to blame Mr. Hool. What about the collective responsibility of the commission as a whole? They must ensure discipline. They must ensure behavior of a kind which will inculcate confidence in the public.
Now, in other stories, 3 persons have drowned in a bathing spot in the Garandi Falls in the area of Madulsiv in Badulla district. Police said that the deceased included a 38-year-old man and 2 girls aged 12 and 13. Their bodies were recovered with the help of Navy sailors and the residents this afternoon. According to reports, the deceased man and the deceased 12-year-old girl are father and daughter. The showery conditions in the southwestern parts of the country are forecast to enhance over the next few days. What's more, the Department of Meteorology also cautions that some sea areas will also be somewhat rough. According to the weather forecast issued by the Department of Meteorology, showery conditions over the southwestern part of the island are likely to enhance to some extent during the next few days. Showers will occur at some places in western, northwestern, Sabaragamu and central provinces and in Galle and Matara districts. Meanwhile, fairly heavy falls above 50 millimeters are also likely at some places in those areas. Furthermore, showers or thundershowers may occur at a few places in the Uva province and in Ampara and Batticaloa districts. What's more, the wind speed can increase up to 40 to 50 km per hour at times over the island, particularly in the western slope of the Central Hills and northern, north central, northwestern provinces and in Hambantota district. Furthermore, the sea area off the coast extending from Colombo to Trincomalee via Putlam, Mana and Kankasanture, and the sea area off the coast extending from Matara to Batticaloa via Hambantota and Pothuil can be rough at times, as the wind speed can increase up to 50 to 60 km per hour. Other sea areas around the island can also be fairly rough. We will see you once more after this break. Don't go away. Welcome back. You're watching First at 9. Now, Wall Street surged yesterday after a strikingly upbeat May jobs report. The Nasdaq breached its all-time closing high reached in February but pared its gains to end the session just below it. All 3 major US stock indices advanced 2% or more. The S&P 500 and the Dow are both well within 10% of overtaking their record closing levels. The US economy added a remarkable 2.5 million jobs last month, rebounding from April's record 20.7 million drop, pushing the unemployment rate down to 13.3%. All 11 major sectors of the S&P 500 ended the session well in the black, with cyclicals which were beaten up and economic lockdowns leading the way. Boeing provided the biggest boost to the blue chip Dow on hopes of a pickup in air travel, a day after American Airlines Group and United Airlines said they would boost their US flight schedule next month. Now, OPEC and its allies, led by Russia, met yesterday to approve extending record oil production cuts and to push countries such as Iraq and Nigeria to comply better with existing curbs. The OPEC and its allies previously agreed to cut supply by a record 9.7 million barrels per day during May-June to prop up prices that collapsed due to the coronavirus crisis. Cuts have been due to taper to 7.7 million barrels per day from July to December. Saudi Arabia and Russia had agreed to extend record cuts throughout July, although Riyadh would prefer to see cut extended throughout August. Global benchmark Brent crude, which slumped below $20 a barrel in April, rose nearly 6% yesterday to trade at three-month high above $42. OPEC said an extension of cuts was contingent on compliance, as countries that produced above their quota in May and June must compensate by cutting more in future months. Welcome back. You're watching First at 9. Now, as the protests continue in the U.S. following the murder of African-American George Floyd by a U.S. policeman, basketball legend Michael Jordan has pledged $100 million to the groups fighting for racial equality and social justice. In another development, the National Football League there has made a U-turn on one of their decisions by allowing players to protest during the national anthem against racial discrimination by kneeling, saying that they should have listened to players earlier. Protesters took to the streets of America's cities for the 11th straight day yesterday. People in Portland, Los Angeles, Sacramento and Phoenix all rallied in mostly peaceful demonstrations, taking a stand against the death of George Floyd, who was brutally killed by a white police officer. The gatherings were for most part orderly, in contrast to earlier in the week when protests were punctuated by arson, looting and clashes between protesters and police. The size and scope of protests have seemed to ebb after prosecutors in Minneapolis on Wednesday elevated murder charges against one police officer jailed last week pertaining to the incident of George Floyd on the 25th of May. In a separate development with regards to the ongoing protests, basketball great Michael Jordan said that he will donate $100 million to groups fighting for racial equality and social justice. The NBA legend said in a statement that his brand Jordan, along with him, would distribute the money over 10 years. The money will go to a number of organizations in a bid to tackle ingrained racism. The president of Jordan Brand stated that they must join forces with the community, the government and civic leaders to create a lasting impact together pertaining to this injustice. Furthermore, Michael Jordan said last week that he was deeply saddened, truly pained and plain angry over what is happening in the US. He also said that he stands with those calling out the ingrained racism and violence towards people of color in the country. In another twist, the US National Football League said that players should be allowed to protest during the national anthem as rallies against racial discrimination continue. NFL Commissioner George Goodell said that they were wrong not to listen to NFL players earlier, and they also encourage all to speak out and peacefully protest. The NFL had previously banned players from dropping to one knee, a practice started by Colin Kaepernick in 2016. Now, the University of Oxford says that administering the drug hydroxychloroquine to COVID-19 patients is ineffective. The university had come to this conclusion following a study which involved thousands of people. The university further urged that the drug should not be given to hospitals anymore across the world. With many countries across the world administering hydroxychloroquine as a treatment for the COVID-19 virus, a study of thousands of patients led by the University of Oxford has said that the drug does not work against the COVID-19 disease and should not be given to any more hospital patients around the world. Deputy Chief Investigator of the Recovery Trial and Professor of Medicine at the Epidemiology at Oxford University, Martin Landry, said that if you are admitted to hospital, don't take hydroxychloroquine because it is useless. Meanwhile, India has surpassed Italy as the sixth worst hit by the coronavirus pandemic after another record single-day spike in confirmed infections. The Health Ministry reported 9,887 new cases today, bringing the total to 236,657. Most of the new cases are in rural areas following the return of hundreds of thousands of migrant workers who left cities and towns after the lockdown in late March. In the meantime, China's capital Beijing further eased its coronavirus measures today, lowering the city's emergency response level to the second lowest. That will lift most restrictions on people traveling from Wuhan and the surrounding province of Hubei, where the virus first appeared late last year. They will no longer face 14-day mandatory quarantines and other forms of monitoring, and those currently in such situations will be allowed to return to their normal lives. Meanwhile, China has advised its citizens not to visit Australia, citing racial discrimination and violence against Asians during the coronavirus pandemic. A notice issued by the Ministry of Culture and Tourism yesterday said there had been an increase in words and deeds of racial discrimination and acts of violence against Chinese and Asians in Australia due to the impact of COVID-19 pandemic. In the meantime, South Korea has reported 51 new cases of COVID-19, mostly in the densely populated capital region, as authorities scramble to stem transmissions among low-income workers who cannot afford to stay home. At least 34 of the new cases were linked to door-to-door sellers hired by Richway, a Seoul-based health product provider. Now, Joe Biden has formally won the Democratic Party nomination to take on Donald Trump in November's presidential election in the U.S. He said on Twitter that he had secured the 1,991 delegates needed and would fight to win the battle for the soul of the nation. He had been the effective nominee since Bernie Sanders' withdrawal in April. Biden, who served as the vice president of Barack Obama, began the primary campaign in faltering style in Iowa and in New Hampshire, but then built momentum with a convincing victory in South Carolina. He then dominated the so-called Super Tuesday contests, taking 10 of the 14 seats. 77-year-old Biden secured the nomination officially after 7 states and the District of Columbia held presidential primaries last Tuesday. What's more, this is his third bid for the presidency. And that's it from all of us here at First at 9. Thanks for watching. Bye-bye.